876 stream. Bless up.
Brazilian brilliance, prolific Portuguese, Swiss skills, and a stalemate in Al Iran. All of this and more coming up in this new show, now streaming Qatar.
876 stream. Bless up.
So for the first time since 2014, Brazil has won their opening game of the greatest showpiece. That was a victory over Croatia on that opening day when they hosted a tournament back in 2018. They had that 1-1 draw against Switzerland. But now in 2022, it was the Richarlison show. And guess what? We're back again. Thank you guys so much for watching. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are across the globe. Welcome back to 876 Stream JA. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as well. And on Instagram as well for all the latest updates is 876 Stream. And on Twitter, it is Stream 876. We have the same panel that we had earlier this morning. The guys from This or That Sports TV hang out with us today. And they'll also give their insight as well in terms of all the games that we had throughout the course of the day. So we have Jomar and Rush to my immediate right. It is Rush and Jomar to the far right. Gentlemen, Rush, your thoughts about the performance from the Brazilians?
Really good performance. I expected the Brazilian team to come out and put on a show. In the first half, obviously they started slow. And Serbia, they were in the game. But in the second half, man, it was outstanding. They took a lot of shots, 22 shots in the whole game, and most of those came in the second half. So I saw what I expected. Obviously, I didn't get the 4 goals that I predicted, but it could have been 4 goals. The keeper made 6 saves. So all in all, a good performance from Brazil, and I think they will be satisfied with this performance.
Jomar?
I tend to agree with everything that he just said. Even a blind man could see that Brazil were the better team. They should have dominated the game, and they did dominate the game. They started slow, but keep in mind, Brazil are still a young team, and especially in their attack, fairly inexperienced. This should have been a lot of their players' first World Cup. So going onto the field, not starting as quickly as they would expect, which I honestly expected Serbia to be in it with them for a period of time. But they came out in the second half and they absolutely showed their class, and they dominated the game, and they got everything that they deserved from this game, which was 3 points. And some would say they probably deserve more than just the 3 points and 2 goals.
You could say the first half, Serbia had a couple of moments, but, as you said, the Brazilian dominance in that second, Jomar, in terms of they raised their standards, the intensity, a couple of adjustments, and all of a sudden, it was all Brazil. So that was, was that expected? Bearing in mind the Serbians, a big, powerful, strong unit. Brazilian, a little bit more diminutive in terms of size and strength.
As I said, the Brazil team far outclasses the Serbian team. I don't think there's any comparison. Yes, Serbia boasts a front three of Savic, Mitrovic, and Tadic. And that is a potent front three by many international team standards. However, one of the few teams that front three does not compare to is the Brazilian team. And we saw that on full display today. Richarlison, who is not necessarily one of their strongest players that they boast, the likes of Vinicius Jr., Neymar, Rafinha, on the bench, there's Anthony, so on and so forth. And the fact that Richarlison could come out and have the absolute magnificent game that he did today just shows the depth of Brazil and just shows how good they really are. And as I said, a two goal victory over Serbia, well within expectations.
Yeah. What I expected and saw from Brazil today? Their experience in defense. Alisson, he's been there before. Marquinhos, he's been there before. Thiago Silva, he's been there before. So seeing these guys step up and not putting a foot wrong in terms of their defensive effort today, I expected it and I saw it. Now, this is where I think Brazil will make up for their inexperience going forward. Those guys being on the pitch, even Neymar being there before, Casemiro being one of the more experienced players at 30 years old. I think those are the guys that will keep the Rafinhas and the Richarlisons and the Anthonys and those guys in check. The Vinicius Jr. These are the experienced guys that will, I'm sure, went in at halftime and gave it to them. Because attacking players were not doing enough. Vinicius was just not doing enough. Neymar was just not doing enough. You know, they were winning fouls but just not doing enough. They were not living up to their abilities. And I'm sure these are the guys that, you know, told them to pull up their socks.
Yeah,
So
Richarlison, to your point, is very silent in the first half. And we were saying that, you know, Gabby's on the bench. Get on Gabby. You know, we're being a bit biased, of course, being the Arsenal fans that we're proud to say. But Richarlison was a bit quiet in the first half. And as Rush said, you know, Thiago Silva and Marquinhos, or Alisson himself, probably looked and was like, get your guys' act together. And Richarlison did just that. Vinicius Jr. did just that. You know, so good analysis. I agree completely.
Yeah, so Richarlison, the first Brazilian to score a brace in the World Cup since Neymar, which was back in 2014 as well, in that 4-1 victory over Cameroon. So Richarlison getting his name, and that was his 9th goal in his 7th appearance for Brazil this calendar year. And, you know, since his move to Tottenham, he hasn't scored a single goal. Before I get some more reactions from Russia and Jomar, just wanted to take a couple of comments in below. Joel Lee says, Jeff, Brazil save you. The grass lives to see another day. Joel, I know you don't get to see Jeff face to face at this point in time, but Jeff is smiling and really, really happy that he doesn't have to have his vegetables right now. So let's continue right now. So Rush, as it relates to Richarlison, you know, even back in Brazil, fans were saying, Rodrigo, Pedro at Flamengo is scoring goals for fun. Richarlison in England, the performances aren't there, but I'm sure he silenced the doubters.
the thing is with Richarlison, we spoke about it off air. I'm sure the coach going into this campaign, he knows that they have creativity because their midfield, especially with Neymar playing the number 10 position, and they played with Paqueta today, so that's 2 number 10s. They were not short of creativity. You know what Gabriel Jesus and Pedro offers, yes, goal scoring from Pedro, but what Gabriel Jesus offers is more, you know, a creative role from the number 9 position, you know, causing some chaos around there with their defenders. They didn't need that today. What they needed was a clinical striker, and I think where that is concerned, like him or hate him, I think Richarlison at the moment is a little bit more clinical than those guys. And we saw it today. He took his chances. The anticipation on the first goal, great anticipation, and the second goal, great awareness and just technique and ability. So I think he proved all the doubters wrong today, including me. That I spoke to you earlier and I say, which one is more clinical? Even though Richarlison in the Premier League is not as clinical as he should be, but today, you know, you can't argue against what he did today. Can't at all.
How can you expect to play well in England when he's not playing for a club?
So
find a good team and then maybe you'll see a good Richarlison. That's all I have to say on that matter. But good game Richarlison.
Tottenham fans won't be happy for that
They
at all.
won't, but we don't care.
and at Everton, he was loved by the fans as well.
Yeah, as I said, at Everton he was at a respectable club in England. And we saw better performances. You know, he made some would say a lateral transfer. I would even say he relegated himself, you know, and now you can see the results. But we're all banter aside, you know, fun and jokes aside. Richarlison is in a new system in England. You know, he wasn't 100% fit. He struggled with injuries at the beginning of the season. In addition to the fact that he's competing with the best number 9 in the whole entire world. And right now, I'd say that definitively, although Haaland is scoring the amount of goals that he's scoring, I still think Harry Kane is a better footballer than him. And that's the competition that Richarlison has to face. It's going to be hard to get adjusted. It's going to be hard to get yourself into the game and to get acclimated with the new system. So I'm not as hard as hard on Richarlison about his domestic performances. I do think he will come and he will find his place in Tottenham. But in this Brazilian team, he's definitely that guy.
Jomar, was he Brazil's best player today in the 11?
Yeah, I think so. He was. You know, Vinicius Jr. I think he's overlooked. You know, he had involvements in both goals. You know, when you take a look at it, in addition to the fact that he was causing the Serbian defenders a lot of issues, Casemiro was absolutely outstanding. It seems as though every single time Serbia tried to make anything happen in the midfield, Casemiro was always there to break it up. Rush mentioned their 2 central defenders, Marquinhos and the very old grandfather, Thiago Silva. Amazing, outstanding performances. But I do think Richarlison was that cherry on top of the very, very, very well put together cake by Brazil today.
And, you know, we saw the changes that came on as well. You know, a couple of players getting minutes, the likes of Jesus, Martinelli. Your thoughts about their cameo performances? I
saw good cameos from those guys. I think one thing about this Brazilian team, they're deep. They're really deep. And in terms of their attack, obviously at their wing-back positions, they could use some help and some depth. But in terms of going forward, if Rafinha is not on it, you can bring on a Martinelli or an Anthony. You know, you can bring on a Gabriel Jesus if you know, your forward is not striking, you can put Rafinha to the middle to play the number 10 position. You know, I feel like their depth going forward is so strong, man. And today we saw it. Martinelli came on, you know, darted down the left flank and he was causing some problems. Jesus in the box, you know, beating a man to the line and whipping it across it. You know, so almost scoring again. You know, they could have scored 2 more goals after the subs were made. You know, so I'm impressed with the cameos that I saw, and I think some guys will be giving the coach something to think about in terms of that right. Because I don't think Rafinha locked in his start for the next game. You know, he could have had a better performance. I think the coach will be thinking about who will start on that left wing position, right wing position. Sorry.
Yeah, thoughts as well.
Yeah, to add to what he said, you know, Brazil's depth, it wasn't on display today, but we speak about Edison.
Right.
We speak about Militao, you know, we speak about Fred, you know, we speak about players who really can consolidate their starting lineup in every single position, not just their attacking depth, which is incredible how good their attacking. They would probably have a top 5 front 3 twice in this World Cup. You know, you think about the likes of, you think about Martinelli, Anthony, and Gabriel Jesus, then you think about Rafinha, Vinicius Jr., and Richarlison. Not to mention that Neymar has the potential to be a winger, so on and so forth. So that is something that I think will really help Brazil in both the attacking positions and the defensive positions.
You know, Jomar, something we see that we haven't seen in previous Brazil teams. Of the 26 members, 12 of them play in the EPL. That's almost half the squad. Normally you would hear of the Brazilians dominating in terms of in the squad who play in Italy or in Spain.
Yeah.
But now it's in England. The changing of the guard, perhaps, you know, your thoughts about this emergence in England, because it's not something we've seen in recent times. It's just of late now that we're really starting to see more of them coming to England.
That one is directed at me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have those 12, 5, you know, they're not playing that very good. Like Tellez, he needs a better club. Casemiro needs a better club. Help me out in a rush. Anthony needs a better club. Richarlison needs a better club. So we talk about the other players that are playing in England, you know, who are playing at relevant clubs. I think this is because...
Paqueta.
This is because... And Himaris. Himaris is playing at an outstanding club.
I respect Newcastle.
Bruno. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so because of the dynamic in England where football is gradually becoming more English-centric, and it's so weird because yes, we see this World Cup is so vast, we see the talent is so well spread out, but I mean the English game is only getting better and better, where teams in other countries are struggling to find resources, struggling to fund their teams, struggling to pay players. Teams in England are just getting wealthier and wealthier. They're new owners, you know. So Brazil is a country that's going to produce top quality. Always and forever. From then till now and tomorrow and forever, Brazil will produce some of the best quality players. Because the English game is getting so much better and so much more advanced than every other nation in the whole entire world. I think this switch or this pendulum swing from the other nations in Europe and South America to England, it's only going to get worse and worse. And I think you'll be seeing Brazil teams field 14, 15, 16 players from England in the very near future. I just really hope that these Brazilian players can actually find a good club in England to go and not be forced to settle at Manchester United and at Tottenham, because it's not good for their careers.
You know what this speaks to, Simon, the talent that's coming out of Brazil. Because the thing is, a lot of clubs are becoming more relevant in England. We speak about a Newcastle and even last year Leeds, because don't forget Rafinha is just 6 months removed, if so many removed from Leeds. So he would be a Premier League player just a couple months ago. You know, so I think more clubs are becoming relevant. You know, Thiago Silva, Chelsea. You know, there are more than 4 clubs now relevant, and they are going for the best talent in the world. And that speaks to the talent that Brazil is producing out of there. So I would say a lot of them coming straight from Brazil. Speak about Martinelli from Arsenal. He came straight out of Brazil. You know, so kudos to the Brazilian program.
And real quick to that point that you made about more teams competing in England. You talk about Newcastle being recently taken over, you know, and them having the ability to buy good players and to buy talented players and to get talented talent like Bruno Guimaraes. You know, he's somebody that's there for the future. And one would say, how is he at Newcastle? Why isn't he where he needs to be? But I think Newcastle is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Newcastle is in the top 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me get your guys' thoughts as well. You know, I asked other persons that have been on the panel as well. You know, this is a November World Cup. You know, we're used to that June, July World Cup, end of the season. Some players might be jaded. Rush, you know, your thoughts, you know, so far, because November, when you think of club football players, mid-season, they're going to enter second gear. Your thoughts about the quality that we've seen so far across not only Brazil but other teams as well in the World Cup as a whole?
Simon, I don't think it's affected the football just yet. We're seeing some great games. Even today, it was a really good day of football. None of the games let us down. Obviously, the first half, most of the teams started slow. The teams that we expected to come out and shock, the lesser opponent, they didn't. But towards the back end of the games, all of the games lived up to the hype. The Portugal game was a great game. Right. Switzerland early in the morning was a really good game. South Korea and Uruguay, that was a really good game and could go anyway. And the Brazil game to top it off in the afternoon. So I don't think it's affecting the football just yet. Maybe in the back end of the domestic season it would affect it. We speak about players that teams depend on being tired or being burnt out, because some of these players are important players to their teams, especially like a Rafinha in Barcelona. They speak about a Guimaraes in Newcastle. If he gets more game time, Arsenal depends heavily on Gabriel Jesus. Martinelli is a starter for Arsenal. Fred, Casemiro, those are starters. Thiago Silva, Chelsea depend on him heavily. So maybe in the domestic season, we'll see it affecting them. But right now for the World Cup, great World Cup so far. Really love it.
And to add to what you're saying it hasn't affected the football, I tend to disagree. I believe that the football is better for it. Having the World Cup at the end of the domestic season where everybody has injured and recovered. Everybody has played at least 40 games to this point who's in the World Cup. As compared to having, when the players are, as you said, just switching into third and fourth year. These players are just getting ready to start playing some serious football. And that's why we see Richarlison being able to score a goal as amazing as that one. That's why we're able to see Heung-min Son in top form today. Playing the way he's playing. Nobody is fatigued. Nobody is tired. Nobody is coming off of a long, emotionally, physically, and mentally draining season. They're right in the middle of their season and they're in top form. And I think that's why this World Cup, in terms of quality, has been so good thus far and will continue to be.
Solid point.
All right, there we go. Let's bring up a graphic on the screen as it relates to the Brazil team and how they've done in first games of the competition. They have a formidable record, just to say the least, going all the way back to the 90s. Their opening game back in 90, they beat Sweden by 2-1. In USA 94, they beat Russia by 2-0. France 98, when Jamaica was there, they beat Scotland 2-1. 2002, the last time they won the World Cup, they beat Turkey by 2-1, a come from behind victory. 2006, a brilliant strike from Kaká led them to a 1-0 victory over Croatia. 2010, Brazil 2, North Korea 1, Maicon with a great goal there. 2014, Brazil 3, Croatia 1, and of course in the last World Cup is a 1-1 draw with Switzerland, and this time around Brazil getting the better of Serbia. So a great record for them in terms of their first games of a competition. The question is, will they be able to end that 20-year drought? For them and for many, it'll be one win down, another 6 to go. So we will see. But at this point in time, what we're going to do is look at their former colonizers, a team that speaks the same language as them, and that's indeed is Portugal. And Portugal, they're up and running as well. A 5-goal second half as they got the better of Ghana today. Rush, we're Cristiano Ronaldo fans. How pleased were you from the accomplishment of this man right here?
No, it's no small feat, Simon. Being as great as this guy is, still in I wouldn't say top form, but in top shape. As an athlete, it's incredible what this guy. He's closing in on 40 years old, and he looks like a good striker. Obviously he's lost a step. He's not as quick to it as we've seen over the years, but he's still a really good player, and to manage to accomplish what he has accomplished in the World Cup, scoring in that many tournaments, 5 tournaments it is now. I think he has some more goals to go. Right. And I'm impressed, and I think the Cristiano Ronaldo fans will put one more thing on their check mark to say this is why this is their goal. Because it's a great feat, and not only does the GOAT conversation come down to talent, but it comes down to great accomplishments. And this is something that not a lot of players, in fact, you will struggle to find players that can say they accomplished what Cristiano Ronaldo did today. Not great. I wouldn't say he had a great game. He had an alright game. Popping up in a moment and giving his team the go-ahead goal. After the score was 0-0. But solid performance, and I expect him to get better in the tournament. But please with Cristiano Ronaldo's performance.
You said you'd struggle to find someone to complete an achievement of this magnitude. Not struggle, because it is impossible. And a feat like this, I'm not sure will be accomplished again, because we speak about the likes of Erling Haaland, who has the ability to score in 5 World Cups, considering that he has longevity. He's not playing in this World Cup. We speak of like Lionel Messi, who's had like an almost 20-year career. There is a World Cup that he went to. This is his 5th. that he didn't manage to score when he was younger.
Yeah.
So in order to do this, not only do you have to play football for 20 years, that is a prerequisite, but then you also have to be consistent enough to always be in good positions and score in every single one of these World Cups. This is a feat that will be overlooked. And I think it's remarkable being able to score in 5 World Cups. That's absolutely ridiculous, and I don't think it will be replicated. To his game today, though, I've seen Ronaldo play better. As you said, he's not necessarily the guy that he was, and I mean that's fine. He's almost 40 years old, and he's playing in his 5th World Cup. Like, I reiterate, you know how hard that is to get up and to play football at such a high level, captain in your team in your 5th World Cup. So that's ridiculous in and of itself, and he deserves a lot of respect for that. His game today, he was a bit silent throughout the game for the most part. He didn't have very many touches. He didn't create very many opportunities. But being Cristiano Ronaldo, he stepped up and he converted and he put his team ahead, and that's very respectable.
Yeah, Simon, don't be surprised if he makes it 6. Yeah, he's 37 right now.
Ooh.
I can see
That's a take.
I can see a 41 years old
In
Cristiano Ronaldo playing in the MLS or playing in wherever, probably not in England or in Spain or Germany, but playing in, say, the MLS or in Qatar or wherever,
Right.
in Egypt, whatever. No, if Portugal managed to make it to the World Cup, they will, and they have a 26-man squad. Cristiano Ronaldo will be on the squad.
Is Roshan Smith from this or that Sports TV saying Cristiano Ronaldo will be playing in America in 2026? Looking at the camera and saying,
and face Jamaica.
People, I won't go that far to say he'll be facing Jamaica, but I think there is a very strong chance that we'll see Cristiano Ronaldo in the 2026 World Cup. This guy's a beast.
You know why we'll see it though?
Why?
Because he said if he wins the World Cup, he'll definitely retire, and that's an impossibility. so if that's how we're going, and then we might see him in 2026 and then again in 2030. Because I just don't see it for Portugal now or anytime soon.
Portugal fans, attack Joe Mar.
Yes, guys. Do let us know your thoughts in the comments below as well. Give us your feedback of the matches you've seen today, the performances and everything. And yes, Jomar and Rush have made some good point. Just to play 5 World Cups is an achievement in itself, but to score in 5 World Cups,
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's completely different as well. Just a reminder, the likes of Antonio Carvajal, Lothar Matthäus, Rafael Marquez, Gigi Buffon, Lionel Messi, Andres Guardado, Guillermo Ochoa, and Cristiano Ronaldo, the persons that have been to 5 World Cups. Quite a list to be part of. I mean, some of them goalkeepers, some defenders, but just to score in 5, I personally don't think it will be matched ever by any other person. Let's see what the future might hold, but it's quite an accomplishment to be. Jomar, your thoughts about, not the goal that he scored, but the foul that was made before that. Soft in your eyes, the way how the challenge was made. Ghana, a bit unfortunate.
Simon, you see that I've put on my objective hat, and I've been trying to be an objective person, giving the guy his flowers. One would say I'm not objective, and one would also be right by making that assertion. But in this case, me continuing to be objective, that was clearly not a penalty, and it should not have been called a foul. But I will add to that statement that the goal that he scored earlier, that was called a foul against him, it was absolutely not a foul. So my grandmother would have said, what, 6.5 dozen of the other?
Balance.
Yes, I think that penalty definitely wasn't a penalty. I think it was a good tackle. I think he went down a bit too easily, but that is something that Cristiano Ronaldo is known for. Let's be honest, But the goal that was disallowed earlier should have stood. So 6.5 dozen of the other. Big ups for stepping up and taking the penalty and scoring it, though, but definitely not a penalty.
So Cristiano Ronaldo opening the scoring in the 65th minute. Andre Ayew equalised it in minute 73. Joe Felix making it 2-1. And then Rafael Leao in the 80th minute. Then Usman Bukhari in the 89th minute. Rush, who was the catalyst, you would say, for the Portuguese? Was it Bruno, Bernardo, Joe?
It was definitely.
Ronaldo, Bruno, Joe. Is Ronaldo not a candidate?
For the best player of the match? For
No.
the Portuguese
Not
side?
a candidate?
No.
And
No.
what I would say, it's definitely Bruno Fernandes.
For sure.
This was a really good game. Coming into the game, Jomar said that he needed to be one of the best players. He's as important as anyone else in this Portuguese team. And today we saw one of Bruno's best performances for Portugal in terms of a second half. He was so good. He was show-stopping, and his pass for the second goal. You know, if he held on to that ball for one more millisecond, it would have been offside. So perfect timing. And that pass to put in João Felix for the that would have been the second goal. That would have been the third goal. For the second goal for João Felix, you know, brilliant pass. You know, and just through the whole game, he was good. He was good, and I feel like he was the catalyst that came out in the second half and just, you know, ran over the Ghanaian team.
And in terms of the concerns for the Portuguese now, Rush, in terms of the goals they conceded, is it down to lapse in concentration? Is it Cancelo? Is it Ruben Diaz? Because it was quite shocking in terms of the manner of how they were conceded.
I agree, and they conceded so fast after scoring. the thing is with this Portuguese team, and I said it in the pre-game show, they are so inconsistent over long periods of time, but even in specific games they are inconsistent. We see where we saw for the Ronaldo goal, good build up, good ball from I think it was Bruno, you know, foul, whatever. Right. Then we see goal. Then we see a good ball from Bruno to Felix, goal. Then how do you lose your head? How do you not track a man at back post? One of the easiest defensive transitions to make. Just look where the man is at back post and be at back post. This is something that we've complained about for even recently in our qualifying campaign. We complained against Alvas Powell. But it's one of the easiest defensive transitions. Just look where the man is at.
Why do you gotta go there, man?
No, just to explain so the people understand what I'm talking about. It's one of the easiest things to defend. Look where the players are. A player is going to be at front post. A player is going to be at back post. It is your job to be at back post as a right back in that. Left back in that instance.
Right.
You know, so this is what I'm talking about. There are lapses and inconsistencies when defending. I don't know if they get excited when they score. I don't know if they need some more experience, i.e. Pepe, or they need a Patricio in the goal, or they need a better goalkeeper. I don't know. But it could be one of those three things, and they're just so inconsistent whenever they play. And they need to identify that quickly and sort it out before the competition gets heated.
I mean, Jomar, you're a keeper. Of course, fans would have seen the video that, you know, Rush and I did with you in terms of the penalty challenge. But do we still keep with Costa? Do we go with Patricio? Do we go with Sa?
Well, first to piggyback on what Rush said, I wanted to add something to that. Could it though be a lack of cohesiveness in the back because one of their starting wing backs didn't start? That's Nuno Mendes, who's been their starter throughout all of this campaign. In addition to the fact that Pepe and Danilo Pereira have been rotating, so could it just be that they weren't organized and they weren't used to playing with each other, and as such a miscommunication that led to 2 goals? I think that's something to look into. And I think had Mendes been on the field, they would have a better defensive showing. To the point about the goalkeeper, you know, I've always maintained the view that Sarr should be the one starting for Portugal. I do think he's the best Portuguese goalkeeper they have on show right now. However, Diego Costa is somebody that they trust. You know, we've seen times where he's done the armband for them, in fact. So he's a senior player in that team. He's one of the leaders in the locker room. He's been around for a while. So, you know, I think he will continue to keep. You know, he almost made a 2-point costing mistake today. You know, what was he doing? You know, his spatial awareness and his field awareness is obviously not to the level that it should have been, or maybe it was just complacency. But I think going forward, they will continue with him. Had I been the one charged with picking this Portuguese team, though, I would have gone with the Wolverhampton goalkeeper.
It's a droppable offense.
Interesting. And Jomar, let me start with you on this one in terms of the Ghana perspective. In terms of their performance as well. Was it lapse in concentration on their end as well, or more so the Portuguese brilliance in terms of their attack, because it was quite quick in terms of their fast breaks and being able to get into the final third?
Well, first and foremost, the first goal that they conceded was I don't think it should have been a penalty, and I already said that. Right. But Bruno Fernandes is, in all honesty, one of, if not the best player on the field. Yeah. And I think it's between him, Bernardo Silva, and João Cancelo.
Yeah, plays for a good club.
so Bruno Fernandes' ability to create space and to make opportunities just like that out of nowhere. That's something that we've seen time and time again. So I don't think Ghana can stop a top level performing Bruno Fernandes. No team can. So when he does what he does, you know, and he just creates that space, he just makes passes that the normal person that me and you just could not have seen, there's nothing you can do to stop that. And he did that twice. You know, for the most part, I think Ghana were pretty organized. And I think they played well, considering that this Portuguese team is so talented and gifted in every single position. But Bruno Fernandes' magic twice is what really just put the final nail into the Ghanaian coffin.
Simon, you know what I think? Who has some question to answer for this Ghanaian performance? Their coach. You know,
Coach also, yeah.
getting a goal back from your captain. Are you? You know, I can't imagine what's going through his head. I don't know if it's fitness. I don't think so. He took him off in probably the 78th minute.
Right.
You know, he's your captain. Just got a goal. Really good goal. Leave him on. Leave him on. You know, kudos to him for being in that position. You know, and he scored you a goal. He's bringing you back into the game. You take him off. Not only that, but I just remember that, you know, they're in the game against a Portuguese team who should be blowing them out of the water, but they're in the game. Remember, Ghana, they're ranked 61st.
Yeah.
Right? Portugal should be blowing them out of the water. You're in the game. Why would you make an attacking substitution like bringing on Lamptey, who is an attacking wing back slash right midfielder?
Right.
Now, why would you bring on Lamptey when you're trying to secure your backline and make sure that Bruno Fernandes don't find a next pass like that? And we saw where the third goal came from the right side. You know, because he made an attacking substitution down the right side. You know, so I just picked that up, and the coach, I think he has some questions to answer about that decision.
Well, to note your point about Ghana being 61st, as I said, that rating does not reflect the team that they put out on paper. And I think they're at least 20 spots better than 61. Let me just say that first and foremost. You know, the coach saw some opportunities to exploit. Lamptey is a right-sided player to exploit a weakened left side, you know, of Portugal, which was a deficit all game. So I think that might have been a master stroke by the coach had it worked. You know, so I'm not going to blame the coach that much. You know, Bruno Fernandes is Bruno Fernandes at the end of the day, and he has the ability to be one of the best players in the world on his day. So that would have been the final reason for Ghana's demise.
Yeah, and you know, Jomar, when you look at the Ghanaian team, you know, they did a lot in recruitment after they qualified to try to get players and their passports and so on. You've seen Williams, you know, in Spain colours and now in Ghana, and Tariq Lamptey, a former England youth player, and now with Ghana as well. You know, I'll touch on Lamptey here because you know the depth of England at right back with the Kyle Walkers, etc. of this world. Many people say he should have waited until 2026 and then committed, but your thoughts about the decision to go and represent the land of your heritage? Because, of course, this is something that we talk about from a Jamaican perspective quite often. And perhaps Max Aarons might be in the conversation quite often amongst others for 2026.
I have no issue with dual nationals opting to represent the side of their heritage. In fact, I think it's great that you have the diversity within your bloodline to be able to play for that many countries. That's something to harp your hat on. That's something to be proud of. Or like yourself, Simon Preston, I hear it's something that you speak on all the time, you know, about how many different elements there is to making Simon Preston. I think that's something one should be proud of. And showing how proud he is of his heritage. You know, he decided to go and represent his forefathers' people, and I see no issue with that. Some might say he's exploiting a team that qualified for the World Cup. You know, but he can't play for Ghana unless Ghana wants him to play for them. He can't just go to Ghana and say, yo, I go play for Uno, let me in. No, there has to be an olive branch that was offered him, and he accepted it. So I have no issues with him going and playing for Ghana. You know, he saw an opportunity. They were going to the World Cup, and he obviously has some national pride. You know, he obviously has some patriotism for his heritage. His heritage. Hence going to wear those colours and represent his nation. So I have no problem with that. And as far as I'm concerned, Lamptey is no Ghanaian.
Rush, the reason why I asked that is because they didn't feature a part in qualifiers, Williams and also as well Lamptey as well. And you know, persons in some sectors back in Ghana would say, oh, you just come because we qualified. But the reality is, until you get a passport or you're even called, you know, there's not much you as a player can do. And of course, they're in the picture playing for their heritage.
And the thing is, what I would say is, I would like those players to come before the qualification process. No, this is a weird campaign because each team get to carry 26 players. You know, so maybe that coach is looking for an extra one or two player that, you know, can make my team better. Obviously, they won't be the mainstay because they're not embedded in the program and in the system. But if you can add a 26th or 25th player to make your team better, fine. I think if you're going to have a player play a major role in your team, I think they need to be there at least before the qualifiers. I think, as I said earlier in the preview, rewarding players that were there for the grind, that were there for the qualification process. Ghana qualified at the last minute against Nigeria, and penalties I think they did. You know, so if it was a case where they, you know, didn't take some of those players to bring Tariq Lamptey or Williams, then I wouldn't like it. But if it's a case where you got 26 players and Tariq Lamptey is available, he's going to make my team a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see how fast we can expedite this, process to involve him in the system. I don't mind it.
Yeah, Jomar. So if
Williams
if
is a mainstay though in their team.
Yeah, 'cause he started today.
Williams is a star player in the team.
so if the person is, for example, a cut above the rest or better than what you have, Jomar, you'd be all right with that. For example, Jamaica was there, and for example, the opportunity arises for a Holgate or a Damari Gray.
All right, the thing is with Ghana, it's different. Ghana has done well in the World Cup before, and Ghana have the likes of Thomas Partey, Andre Ayew. They have very good players, and they can actually make a serious push. I'm not sure how much of a push Mason Holgate would give us over, let's say, the likes of Damian Lowe, Russian's favorite reggae boy. If we secured World Cup qualification, I'm not sure how I'd feel with the likes of Isaac Hayden and
If they didn't play in the qualifiers.
and a Holgate coming through and saying, "Oh, let's jump on a bus and go to Qatar."
To help us do what?
It wouldn't rub me the right way, because as you said, to help us do what?
Win a point?
But the thing is, though, Rush Lamptey now
Yeah.
is a part of this Ghanaian program going forward. So you take that into consideration. So yes, he's been incorporated late in this program, but he'll be a part of their system going forward. So for example, if we qualified for World Cup, and we incorporated Max Aarons, and then he would travel with this team and start in the World Cup, right? People would be like, "Oh, him only come
Because
this, that. But then think about the fact that we'll have him for 2 more World Cup qualifying campaigns and 4 more Gold Cups,
Right.
and possibly 2 more World Cups, so on and so on.
Nations Leagues and stuff. Yeah.
So that's probably the perspective that Ghana is looking at it from. Yes, he might have stolen a place in this World Cup, but now he's locked in for all the other World Cup qualifying campaigns to come. So that's how we can look at it.
Solid point.
Interesting views indeed. Let's just take some comments first before we go into the other 2 games that happened today, and we'll have a look ahead to what is coming your way tomorrow. This is the end as it relates to the first match for each team in the tournament itself. 39 goals scored so far. 39 goals scored so far within the competition, and it's been absolutely fantastic. We've had 0-0 draws, we've had high scoring games, and it's just been quite a spectacle so far within the competition. So far, 41 goals rather after this Brazil game, 41 goals in 16 games, so that's an average of 2.56 goals per game. Let's take some of the comments that you all have said. Claudette says, Richarlison is the man of the match. He outplayed all. He's brilliant. He shone. Certainly, he had a good performance. Travis Pessoa says, Brazil team is scary. Ray Stewart says, as a striker, talking about Cristiano Ronaldo here, going to 5 World Cups and only have 7 goals, well, it's 8 now, is nothing special. Being at 5 World Cups is special. There's 2 sides to the coin there, bearing in mind where he was at other tournaments. 2014, he wasn't at 100% fitness, and of course, he was a fringe player in his first World Cup as well.
He was a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Jamal Tucker says, we've seen all the favourites now, so I can say Brazil are still favourites. Argentina down right now, but not out.
Yeah.
England have more to prove. France and Spain are worth keeping a close eye on. Portugal and Netherlands are the darkest of horses.
That's
100%.
Yeah, that's Soliloquy, that spiel that he just spewed. It's absolutely accurate. I think everything that he just said now represents. That rounds up the first round of matches, the first match week, as they'd say, perfectly.
Yeah.
Screenshot that. I post it on my status.
No reason to remove Brazil as favourites, and I think everybody understood what happened in the Argentina game. I think we know that Argentina is better than losing 2-1 to Saudi Arabia, and we expect them to bounce back against Mexico and Poland. But those games could be chippy, because I think one of those teams get a draw of Argentina, and everything is flipped on its head. So let's say going into the game knowing that you only need a draw, knowing that you only need to man-mark Messi, it could prove a different task for those teams. So something to worry about, but nothing to change our predictions on.
Absolutely. We're going to have a look at the point standings to see how Group G and Group H and how that stacks up before we look at the encounter in the other group with South Korea. This is what Group G looks like right now as we speak. Brazil, as we said earlier, getting the better of Serbia by 2-0, and of course earlier, the first game of the day, we had Switzerland clipping Cameroon from a goal from Breel Embolo. Quite a compelling case, because he was born in Cameroon. His parents separated, moved to France, and his stepfather is Swiss and moved to Switzerland and now representing Switzerland and giving them a very, very important one. Not many times you see persons scoring against their country of birth, especially at a World Cup. We had a case where Lukas Podolski and Miroslav Klose for Germany played against Poland, their country of birth. Didn't score against them, but played a significant role, and they also celebrated for Germany. So interesting things we have seen at the World Cup. In terms of the next game for this group, Group G, it will be Cameroon against Serbia, so the two teams that are at the foot of the table, and of course Switzerland against Brazil, top of the table clash coming up over the weekend. So rather Monday for those fixtures in particular. So something very, very keen to look out for. And we're going to look at Group H now, the last group, and it's the Portuguese, the Navigators, leading the way with 3 points. The 1966 bronze medal winners, South Korea and Uruguay with 1 point, and the Black Stars of Ghana without a point. Still 2 more games to go. And as it relates to what it lies next for both teams, South Korea, they will face Ghana, while Portugal against Uruguay. A repeat of the round of 16 of the last tournament in 2018. Jomar, Hyunmin Son, CR7, the best number 7 of the day is?
Hyunmin Son. Some might say that because Ronaldo scored a penalty, that would grant him the honors of being dubbed the best number 7 on the day. But if you really know football, and if you actually watched both games, you'd see that this man right there on the screen right now had an absolute amazing game. He controlled the game. He made things happen. He terrorized the defense, and he got a lot of balls into the box. Unfortunately, they weren't able to score. They weren't able to convert. But I think he really did control the game. He really was the star player for Korea. And as compared to Cristiano Ronaldo, who had, I might be exaggerating a bit, but like 4 touches in the whole entire game. And he's
33.
And
33. I'm just saying.
And he scored 1 goal, and I think it was a soft penalty. But I do add that he was denied a goal that should have been allowed. But besides that, he didn't create very, very many opportunities. He wasn't strong in hold-up play. He wasn't very creative. He didn't take very many shots. He was pretty absent throughout the whole duration of the game, as compared to Son, who was active. He was constantly on the ball. He was constantly making things happen. Unfortunately, Korea didn't get on the score sheet, but they could have, and some would say they should have. And I still maintain my assertion that I made earlier, that on the day, Hyunmin Son was the real number 7.
Simon, to Cristiano Ronaldo's defense, I think the more important number 7 on the day was Cristiano Ronaldo. Don't forget, as I said, 33 touches, winning a penalty for his team. Whether we want to debate if it is a penalty or not, he won a penalty for his team. He converted in a high pressure moment. You needed this win, and that go ahead goal from Nilal was an important goal. Also, 4 shots in a quiet game. As Joe said, it's a quiet game, but still managed to get 4 shots. So I think you have to give some credit to what Cristiano Ronaldo did today. Ice in his veins. Very professional. We saw him and he celebrated, and we enjoyed that game. So yes, probably the better performance per se, or the performance that they enjoyed the most was Hyunmin Son. But I think the more important performance on the day was what we saw from Cristiano Ronaldo today, to step up and score that penalty. Because had it been Bruno Fernandes, I'm not sure he would have scored that goal, that penalty.
What about Uruguay now and their performance? Because they had their fair share of chances as well. Nunes also getting involved with things, and many were saying, well, if Suarez was in that position, perhaps he would have converted as well. That man right there.
This was a balanced game. It was a very balanced game. I think the most balanced game of the day, obviously the Switzerland game was very balanced also. But this game was a balanced game. As Joma said, coming into the games, these teams are closer than we think. And I expected Uruguay to get the edge on the day. They couldn't manage to do it. They got some chances. And Darwin Nunes, but they need to be a bit more clinical if you're going to be the man that they're going to build on. Freddy Valverde, outstanding, and the man of the match for me. So Luis Suarez still offers something to them. He tried to hold up the ball a bit, could have had a better game. But I feel like this game was just both teams cancel each other out, and Joma has South Korea to be second in this group. I have Uruguay, and I think it's going to come down, to how they do against Portugal, because I think both of them will beat Ghana.
To piggyback off your point, Bentancur was very good. I think Uruguay's midfield, were absolutely outstanding today, but I think attacking-wise, you'd have to give it to the Korean attackers for providing, I would say, the midfield for Uruguay did all the work. The attack for Korea did all the work. Bentancur and Valverde were absolutely outstanding today. Cavani came on though, and he did bring a spark off the bench. He did provide what little goal threat I think Uruguay had. You know, they got that chance, as you said, to Nunes, which was probably the easiest chance of the game. Now, Korea got a chance.
That's definitely the
But
easiest
Nunes
chance.
had, you know, Simon mentioned, had it been Suarez, 1-0 without a doubt. You know, his inability to just open his body up and use his right foot and kick the ball in the goal is very detrimental. But, you know, as I said, even game, you know, I think the Korean team are slightly better. You know, I think they play better together. They're more cohesive as a unit, and I do think they'll progress, you know, as I mentioned before. But on the day, as you said, Valverde, an outstanding game. Man of the match between Valverde and Son for me.
So just a reminder for those in terms of the results of the day, we'll bring up the graphic, and there it is. Switzerland 1, Cameroon 0, Uruguay 0, South Korea 0, Portugal 3, Ghana 2, and 5-time winners, Brazil 2, Serbia 0. So quite a bit of action that we've had throughout the course of the day. 8 goals across 4 games at an average of 2 goals per game. And within the last 5 minutes, we're going to have a brief chat as it relates to the fixtures that lie ahead for tomorrow. As we said, all teams have now at least played 1 game so far within the competition itself. And now we're going to look at Group A, Group B, the fixtures that lie ahead tomorrow, and slightly on the permutations as well, based on what we've seen. So just a reminder, we have our pre-game show tomorrow morning, 7:15 a.m. Jamaica time, and the post-game show at 4 o'clock. We're bright and early. It's Wales against Iran. Wales already have a point. Iran, well, without a point on the board and 6 already conceded. The host nation, Qatar, will they score their first World Cup goal? They take on Senegal at 8 o'clock. At 11, it'll be the clash of the 2 teams at the top of the table, the Netherlands and Ecuador. 3 points to both teams so far in the competition. That's at 11 a.m. And at 2 o'clock, the biggest game of the day, England against the United States. A repeat of 2010 and 1950. Post-game show at 4 o'clock. Rush, which one of those 4 games are you looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to England versus USA. You know, I have some players that I like in the England team. You know, speaking, Bukayo Saka had an outstanding game, man of the match performance against Iran.
Yeah.
I'm also looking forward to Ben White getting a cameo, obviously being an Arsenal fan. So I have some interest in the English team.
Yeah.
The USA team is the team I'm supporting from the Caribbean. I just made it my point of duty to support a team not from the Caribbean, from CONCACAF.
Yeah.
You know, so I just made it my point of duty to say, hey, I'm from the region, let's support a team. Which team do I want to do well, if not Jamaica? And I think to represent the region well, I would pick USA. Unfortunately, I think England will be a bit too much for them, but I think that's the game of the day, as you said.
Okay.
My views on that last take that he made. Imagine Argentina not qualifying for the World Cup, and they're back home saying, "Go Brazil, let's go and win the World Cup." It will never happen.
Yeah.
You will never hear it out of my mouth, me supporting Mexico, Canada, or the United States of America. No way, Jose. They're the reasons that my team isn't in the World Cup right now.
No, they're not.
So,
We are.
as I said, they're the reasons that my team, they're the teams that would have to beat us in order for my team to not be in the World Cup. So there is no way I could ever be supporting a CONCACAF team. Just people, imagine Argentina qualifying for the World Cup and they're home saying, "Let's go Brazil." It will never happen. And that's something that I want to make. I know, Simon, I know I should be talking about the fixtures tomorrow, but I'm not sure when I'm going to be back on. So this is a point that I have to make to the people looking at the camera. I see everybody with a flag on them chair, or people are walking around with flags around them back, and it grieves my heart, people. You know, the only flag you can see me wrap around my back is a Jamaica flag. Come born right there, so. You get me, I say? And we have so many Argentinians and Spanish people and French people, and them can't even talk the language. We ask some of them people to say a word in a Portuguese, them can't say it. Tell me a sentence in a Spanish. Serious. No, but then you want to be Argentinian. Yeah. It really, really, really affect me. So, them man here say they must cheer for USA, and have a bonfire on that street.
To the defense of the people that are having the flags on their DP and on their cars. It's not that serious, man. Let the people enjoy their football.
So enjoy your football, no, they enjoy mine too.
Hey, let me finish. Neymar is their favorite player. They want to see Neymar do well. They're cheering for Brazil. You want Argentina to win, because of Messi, you're cheering for Argentina. What do you do it loudly and proudly, or you're hiding in your bathroom and saying it? They are cheering for their team. Allow them to cheer for their team. If Jamaica was in the World Cup and I drive around with Argentina flag pan in a car, may I burn up everyone.
When Jamaica is in the World Cup. But to that point, I want Messi to win, but I don't care for
Argentina. You cheer for Argentina.
But what you know?
Yeah.
To the question that you asked, Simon, sorry for hijacking your show.
No.
Type A personality that we possess. But to the question that you asked, Wales versus Iran, that's a match that I'm really looking forward to. You know, I had a Wales coming out of this zone. You know, many would be like, oh, USA, and I hate for USA. I just genuinely believe that Wales have what it takes to eke out the points where they need to eke out the points. And I think tomorrow is a game where they will get 3 points by the skin of their teeth. You know, I do believe that the Iranians possess better talent than Wales. You know, I'm so surprised with how Iran played against England. It was a disappointing performance. So I think Iran should be favourites in the game. However, I do believe that Wales are going to manage to get away with a 1-0 win, and I'm really looking forward to see that, because my dark horse prediction for the second round Wales, tomorrow it can come to fruition. So that's the match that I'm excited to see.
On the opening day, you know, were you a bit disappointed from what you saw from the host nation? You saw them at the Gold Cup, you saw them at Copa America, you saw them win Asian Cup, and it was kind of flat in terms of the way that they opened as well. Your thoughts about the host nation?
Yeah, I thought much higher of Qatar than they showed me. You know, I still didn't have them finishing the zone with a spot in the second round, but I definitely did not believe that they would capitulate in the way that they did against Ecuador. You know, I thought they would have been more more competitive, and I thought they would have provided a better show. I thought they would have played better football. And I thought they would, you know, we knew some of the Qatar players coming into the game, and I was like, okay, this is a fairly talented team. You know, I think they might push Ecuador to maybe a stalemate. You know, I had a draw in that match. I thought these two teams would have probably been the worst two teams in the zone. The way Ecuador came out and just played them off the park, it could have been 4. You know, had the game gone even better for Ecuador. Very disappointed with how Qatar played. I do believe that they possess the talent to play better. Maybe it was just nerves.
Yeah. Just before we get Rush's perspective, I just wanted to leave the question for you fans for the day, so you can answer it on Instagram or any other platform as well. Was Richarlison's second goal the goal of the tournament so far? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. That second goal that he scored against the Serbian team today. Rush, the Dutch as well. Are they part of your favorites, or like what Jamal was saying in the comments, a dark horse?
I don't think they'll fall into the favorite category. You know, I think there are teams that are better than them. Dark horse, I don't think they're even quite a dark horse. I think they're just a good team that will put in a good performance in the competition. One of those teams that we could potentially see a good semi-final run from. You know, a surprise semi-final run. But I don't think that qualifies them to say dark horse. I think everyone knows the talent that's on that Netherlands team. You know, and they could surprise some teams, man. You're seeing them going to that 2010 World Cup. Not a lot, you know, people at Germany going to that final. A lot of people at, you know, Argentina and England had good squads, and they surprised everybody and went to the finals. You know, so we could see a good tournament, but I wouldn't quite classify them as a dark horse. We know what Netherlands, the talent that Netherlands possesses.
Yeah, but to that point that you made, the fact that you said they could surprise some people, I think that's exactly why we are classifying them as a dark horse. You know, they aren't Spain, they aren't England, they aren't Brazil, they aren't Argentina. You know, so if Netherlands go on to win the World Cup, it would be an underdog performance. You know, I think if one were to predict Netherlands to go on to win the World Cup, I think it would be a fair assertion to say that they are dark horses. I do believe that they
I don't think that's in their cards, though. I think a semi-final at best.
Yeah, I don't think that's in their cards. But if they go on to win the World Cup, that has
then
to
you
be
have to call them dark.
Exactly. So and that's the exact reason why people can consider Netherlands a dark horse.
Interesting. So, guys, this are That Sports TV. Ensure to check them out on YouTube. Go and subscribe. They're doing some brilliant work as it relates to, you know, Jamaican football as a whole, schoolboy football, and everything of that nation. So it's been going great so far. So really, really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Rush to my nearest right, and also Jomar all the way to the end as well. Really, really appreciate it. So, guys, as you know, we're back again at 7:15 a.m. tomorrow morning for the pre-game show, and of course at 4 o'clock will be the post-game show. Thank you for everyone on behalf of the entire production team, with Jev and Kev and Nicolette and Jamal, everybody behind the scenes doing this work. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. Thank you guys for everything, and bye-bye for now. Respect.
Yeah, man,
Seven, 6 stream. Bless up.